It's really one of the biggest headaches that we have because I'm sure you've seen in the news every time there's always a young man who claims to have gone somewhere, made a pitch, made additional input, gave something to somebody. There was an agreement developing, then suddenly yeah, somebody disappears, the corporate disappears, then a few months later what he was pitching comes out, and he's out of the picture, and he has no earnings. So for me, I would really ask people to write down what they have, probably get a registration done here. Secondly, you must create a trail, correspondence between yourself and that person. Faithfully file that trail, and then if possible, sometimes you may need non-disclosure agreements, but many of our people don't sign. I know so many big organizations that have been accused of doing what you are talking about, and they don't want non-disclosure agreements. So for me, I would actually take my chance, but I would take my chance in a way that would show that we were in communication. We have the promises have been made, or whatever, in whatever form, so that you can actually sue. For me, that's the only way. You have to sue. And when you have something that you have developed before and it's appearing at the end, and there's that connection, that should prove something was stolen from you. Otherwise, if there is no communication, there is no proof of communication, there's no proof that you developed it prior to the time that they launched it, then you can't really say anything. Yes. Yeah, we had I think companies really need to be very, very careful in terms of handling the works of others, and they need to have a screening system, so that everything is recorded, and the record is really is respected. At the end of it all, if something comes out, they need to engage with the author of that thing. But having said that as well, when you just have ideas and you haven't written them, it's really nothing. But if you have ideas, and sometimes if you are able to put it into something better than the script, I think you are even in a better place. If it's something you would like to shoot, for instance, with an advert you're pitching, if you have some shots already, you are in a better place. And also that you have maintained the discipline to have it registered, to have the communications, all the communications on email or whatever it is, downloaded and filed, then you are in a better place. When you confront somebody, they will have to pay. So it's about really discipline. Yes. And many people, especially young men, have this in terms of the software that can happen. Sometimes I tell them, create something, a scrap of what you want, present it as a product. If they have an interest, then you develop it as a co-partners. Then you look at the benefit sharing. But if you just go with a plain idea and they have to put in the money, and they see that you are not backed by a strong person or a strong team, they will probably take away your work. You have to be upfront and clear that the winner will have a payment, and the payment is going to be the final payment. and the ownership of the rights will have to be signed off to the person who is advertising for those logos. So you have to be clear, so that there is no. And usually, you have one, it's over. Really, the others are not yours anymore. The other entries do not belong to you. They belong to the owners, but the winner, the rights belong to the person who is managing the competition. So it has to be very clear. I don't know sometimes why people have the notion that you can own the right to a logo belonging to an entity that you are not a shareholder. I don't know where that one comes, because really it doesn't make sense. This company really wants to use it the way they like, yeah, and they want to change it the way they like. That means that the person who created it will no longer have to make that decision, or will be asked about that decision. Yes, that is the same. If you are employed or you are commissioned, whatever you do belongs to the organization. Especially if your employment is to create such kind of works. For instance, if I wrote a book and my job here included writing a book or articles, then Kekobo would own. But if for me, I was employed to manage the organization and give a legal advice, that is the limit of what Kekobo can take from me. So it's a very it's an area where it's so controversial. A number of cases keep coming in, but it should be very clear. If I'm employed as an accountant and I develop a software, and I develop it while working for Kekobo and delivering on my task as an employee in the accounts department, the company cannot claim. If I develop a software or a teaching aid, and I'm a teacher at an institution which I'm required only to deliver lessons, and that teaching aid is mine. Yes, and that is where universities also have a problem with the lecturers, because most of them have an IP policy that says the university will take 50% of the proceeds from a book published by a lecturer, using their own time and resources. While their job is to lecture, and they have lectured and they have been paid for lecturing, and they write a book because of their experience and knowledge, they cannot be asked by the university, and many of them are refusing to sign up to the IP policy, or even to be published by the university press. So which is a loss to the university. So you have to be realistic in terms of the limits. Everything is case by case, but there is also where somebody is employed to do those things, like to deliver, let's say, a system, and the entity says you can have it, you can keep the rights. There are areas where the contract is made between a contracted person and the contracting entity, and at the end of it all, the contracting entity says you can keep the rights. So the basic principle is it belongs to the employer or the contractor, the person who contracts you. But there can be agreement to the contrary. Yes.